Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council of the Township of Malahide on January 30th. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:02. First on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Any changes or additions?
Yeah, I have so.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to bring up about the Roma conference and what I learned there, and an announcement that was made this afternoon by Mr. Ford. So thank you.
Okay, so we'll put that in announcements.
That's right.
Okay. I also have two items. One will be an update on Port Bruce and ice breaking and flood mitigation measures. And the other one is a request for sponsorship for the OPP Elgin Detachment Citizen Police Academy. And those two will go under new business. If there are no further additions or changes, may I have the resolution, please?
That the January 30th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as presented with the following additions. Section J, new business, verbal update on Port Bruce ice mitigation measures, and Section J, new business, Citizen Police Academy.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Lewis seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Next is disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Yeah, I have a couple.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Under F, the Ashton drain and the Diversnick drain.
Thank you for those. Noted.
I have one.
Councillor Cerna?
Yes, under J, DS-2502, application for consent to sever E7-25, J and L Walker Farms. Thank you.
So noted. Okay, so if there's nothing else, then we'll proceed to announcements. Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I recently attended the Roma conference in Toronto, and there was lots of good workshops and lots to learn. One workshop that kind of caught my attention after I was through with it was the hot topic anymore is getting new people to run for council. Well, this guy that was running the workshop had quite a different slant than I'd ever heard before. And he's, first of all, why would anybody want to run? It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job with low pay. But the thing they really harped on was the harassment, online harassment through the media, through Facebook, through any source like that. It's got ridiculous to the point where people are being slandered. And they actually suggested going after them with slander libel lawsuits because it's got ridiculous. Most of them don't know what they're saying when they're saying on there. And just because you're behind a computer doesn't mean you can say whatever you want. So we all have the same rights to a safe workplace. So I just thought I'd bring that up. And it was a very interesting workshop along with lots of other good workshops. And a huge grant for drainage too. So that's welcome. And then the other one today, I heard that Doug Ford announced, I think it's $10 billion for a new police college. So I did reach out to Mr. Rob Flack by a text and hope that he would keep us in mind to have that in our area. But we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
Right, and that was a 1 billion well, it's an announcement, but yeah, 1 billion maybe election promise. But yes, I think that would be good for us to consider as an expansion of the existing facility here. Any other announcements? Councillor Wilson.
Just drove by last Friday, and I'm happy to see that there's a variety store back in Springfield. It's a lot easier driving to a couple doors next door here than driving to Elmer or wherever you get your groceries. She sort of forgot something. It's a lot easier to go get bread, milk, cream right next door. And I wish them all the success.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. We want to welcome them and wish them good success as well. It's much needed, and perhaps they'll consider other locations throughout the township, because I can relate to the literal convenience of having those around, and we've lost more than we've gained for sure in the township. So yes, all the best to them. Thank you for mentioning that. Anything else? Seeing no other announcements, we'll move on to adoption of minutes. So we have the minutes from our last meeting, January 16th. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, may I have a resolution?
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 16th, 2025 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Wilson moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we move to public meetings. We have one public meeting this evening. And so I'd like to call this public meeting to order with the resolution, please.
That the public meeting relating to the zoning bylaw amendment D14, Z14, 24, Barrettson, 47323 and 47325 Talbot Line be called to order at 7:08 p.m.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Glinsky moves, Counselor Serna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So indeed, this is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to allow any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment relating to property located at Plan 15, Part Lots 1, 2, 3, Plan 15, Lots 3, SS Talbot, Township of Malahide, and known municipally as 47-323 and 47-325 Talbot Line. Clerk Adams, what method of notice and what was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
The public meeting was advertised in the Elmer Express for 2 consecutive weeks on January 16th and January 22nd. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were sent a notice by mail at minimum 20 days prior to the meeting.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Steele, welcome. Can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if there were any additional comments received?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This application for council tonight, on behalf of the owners, are seeking to facilitate an infill residential development on the property. The subject lands currently consist of 2 separate residential lots in the hamlet of Orwell, and the owners looking to reconfigure the boundaries so there's a total of 3 lots. The proposed retained parcel, which is parcel A on the submitted site plan, would contain the existing dwelling and several accessory buildings. And parcels B and C, as shown on the site plan, would be 2 vacant lots fronting onto Weldon Street. Subject lands currently are both zoned general industrial M1 as well as hamlet residential. And so the owners are seeking to rezone the property so the entirety of it would be rezoned as hamlet residential. And it's an anticipation that a future consent application would be submitted for the upcoming or forthcoming severance process. Provincial policy statement or provincial planning statement and the county and Malahide future plans all support encouraging the provision of additional housing options, as well as supporting infill and residential intensification and the efficient use of land. Being the property is zoned, or portion of property is zoned general industrial, and previously contained a small scale metal fabrication use. Typically, municipalities would require a record of site condition for properties going from what's defined as a less sensitive to a more sensitive use. In this case, from an industrial to a residential use. The record of site condition is a ministry process that confirms the environmental condition of a property and that there's no contamination. The applicant has filed a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessment since this has determined there is no potential contamination on the property, and these inform the submission of a record of site condition. Given that the record of site condition process through the ministry can be lengthy, and discussions with the applicant, staff are recommending that a holding provision be applied to the proposed rezoning. That would be lifted when that record of site condition process is completed to allow the owners to continue with the development process. So I have no concerns with the proposed application, and no additional comments have been submitted by agencies or the public on the application. And that concludes my presentation. I have questions from members of council.
Thank you for that. Before I proceed to questions, or anyone attending online? Double check. No one in person for this particular application, no? Okay, and there's no one online either. So any members of council have any questions or comments? Councillor Leach.
Thank you. This is just a comment that it's nice to see some additional parcels being opened up.
Thank you for that. So if there's no further discussion, then please be advised that any person wishing further information regarding the passing of the proposed bylaw amendment should contact the clerk. And for now, we can proceed with the adjournment of the meeting.
That the public meeting relating to the zoning bylaw amendment D14, Z14, 24, Barrettson, 47323 and 47325 Talbot Line be adjourned at 7:13 PM.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Serna moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. And now the consideration of the report.
The report number DS 2503 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application of Arnold and Joanna Barrettson, Authorized Agent, Civic Planning Solutions, Inc., relating to the property located at Plan 15, Part Lots 1, 2, 3, Plan 15, Lot 3, SS Talbot 47323 and 47325 Talbot Line, Malahide be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 Z14 24 of Arnold and Joanna Barrettson relating to the property located at Plan 15, Part Lots 1, 2, 3, Plan 15, Lot 3, SS Talbot and known municipally as 47323 and 47325 Talbot Line be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wilson moves. Councillor Glinsky seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So thank you, Mr. Steele. We'll see you a little bit later on in the meeting. For now, we'll move to meetings to consider. We have a couple of drains to consider. Mr. Spreet, you're with us. You want to go ahead with the overview?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Tonight's meeting is the consideration of the Ashton Street drain. This drain came about as a result of a condition of severance. K2 Custom Homes created a duplex on Ashton Street, and they required a drainage outlet for their lands as a condition of severance. So what we're proposing to do is start at the Simpson drain and run through a little corner of the Shackleton lands, about 25 feet, and then run along the Ashton Street road allowance up to the east side of their property to give both properties a legal outlet, which would satisfy the condition of severance. It's all closed drain, generally constructed along the road allowance, and consists of 200 millimeter or 8-inch diameter drain with a few catch basins to collect surface water. Are there any questions, Your Worship?
Thank you for that. I'll open it up for further comments from the applicant. Or a member, okay. So just to clarify, not the applicant, just a participant in the application. Go ahead. Can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Abram Wall. I own 51238 Clinton Street. And on this map that was delivered to us, I can't make full sense out of it. Is the drain going across our yard, across my property at all?
Through Your Worship, no, it's not. You own some of the land, some of your water drains to the north towards the drain, but there's no drain being constructed on your property, and there's no costs assessed to you for the construction of this drain.
Okay, thank you. That'll be all. That's going directly to the flag and will be right across my lawn.
Yes, well, thank you. It's important. Sometimes the map can be difficult to interpret. So thank you for coming and asking for clarification. And thank you, Mr. Spreet, for clarifying as well. Have a good evening. And now questions from members of council. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I guess I didn't get a map on my stuff that was sent. It was like, okay.
Yeah, so sometimes with drainage applications, there are a lot of separate materials, and then I know to council, they get, those files get sent separately. So I think there was a lot of attachments to our email this week, yes.
Okay. It's easier to follow if
It's all
they're with it. That's all.
together and
It's,
yes. And
I'm not concerned.
Okay.
I know that John will do a great job of making sure that everything's going to the right spot.
Yes.
It's just easier to deal with if it's
Yes.
all there.
Yes.
Thank you.
So good point. And sometimes we struggle also with just how big the file becomes, and it becomes unsendable even after you condense. Or if you can send, then members of council can't actually download because of the size, depending on your device. So it's a bit of so we'll have to try to find the balance with that, and or make it clear, or maybe sending it separately or something like that. But we can see if there's anything we can do to improve the clarity of that communication.
Now that Councillor Leach is showing me this, I do see that I did receive it. It's just,
Okay, there you go.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, maybe we should backtrack and go back to the little booklets we used to receive on each drain. And everything was in it. So right from the assessments, right to the size of the tile. That was good. And I don't think I see the same amount on the iPad. Thank you.
We asked staff to just look into that to see if that is if it's feasible or possible, maybe to have one copy, maybe in the chambers for review.
We usually get everyone got one.
Mm-hmm. So we can look into that to see who would prefer to have a paper copy and who is fine with electronic, and see if we can save some trees. I also recall big piles in the back of the chambers after meetings, because they accumulate very quickly. Lots and lots of binders. So, but yeah, clarity and access to information is important. So we'll look into that. Thank you for those comments. Okay, so if there are no further comments on the drain itself, can we have the resolution, please?
That the engineer's report for the Ashton Street Drain be accepted, and that bylaw number 2507, being a bylaw to provide for the Ashton Street drainage works, be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. And now the resolution to plan the Court of Revision meeting.
That the Court of Revision for the Ashton Street Drain be scheduled to be held on March 6, 2025 at 7 p.m.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Wilson second. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we'll move to the second meeting to consider the Versnick drain. Mr. Spreet.
Thank you, Worship. This is another municipal drain, section 4, and it's a new drain. It's come about again as a result of severances. One of the requirements for severances to prevent future problems is to have a legal outlet for each property so that people have a place to drain their water to when they have roofs and runoff and all that. And so what we're proposing to do, this one is for SNCC Inc., is to construct a drain through, that company has two lots. We propose to construct a small drain, 58 meters in length, again, 200 millimeter diameter tile, through the back of their properties, so that they can drain their water to a legal outlet that won't cause harm to anybody else. Are there any questions?
Anyone in attendance have questions or comments on this drainage? Doesn't look like it. Members of council? No comments or questions. So we'll proceed with the resolution, please.
That the engineer's report for the D Versinic drain be accepted and that bylaw number 2506 being a bylaw to provide for the D Versinic drainage works be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Glinsky seconds. All in favor? That is carried. And now the resolution for the Court of Revision meeting.
That the Court of Revision for the D Versinic drain be scheduled to be held on March 6, 2025 at 7 p.m.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Cerna moves, Counselor Lewis seconds. All in favor? I think that's carried. Everybody's juggling a lot of files on screen. Okay, thank you for that. So we'll move on and thank you, Mr. Spreet. I
Thank
think
you.
that's it for you this evening.
Have a good
Enjoy the
evening,
rest of the evening. Thank you.
too.
Next, we do not have any delegations this evening, so we'll move to approval of business. So this is our consent agenda. Since we published the agenda, the grant committee had a chance to meet, so we'll pull that particular item out of the consent agenda. We'll consider it under unfinished business. Next. So for now, we're looking at the resolutions from the Committee of the Whole that were recommendations to council regarding the 2025 draft budget, the operational capital budget for ECC, the Elgin OPP Detachment Board, the request for contribution to the Elgin OPP, and the, to the OPP Detachment Board during the inaugural phase. So we have 3 resolutions there. Any questions or comments?
I have
Seeing
one.
none. Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I just have a question. If we go ahead and approve the draft budget and it's a change due to the community grants, is that still going to be allowed?
Yes.
Fine.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. The resolution, please.
Whereas at its January 16th, 2025 meeting, the Committee of the Whole recommended council resolutions. Be it resolved that council adopts the recommendations B to D from the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Lewis moves. Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, so now we'll consider the separate resolution around the community grants requests. I don't know if either the chair of the committee or Director Boylan want to provide a brief summary, or we can read the resolution to let you know the outcome of the meeting. Do you have a preference, Mr. Chair? Director Boylan? Go ahead, give us a brief overview if you don't mind.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the committee met yesterday to discuss 3 items in particular, one being the museum, the second being the Heritage Festival, and the third being the Stingers Baseball Association grant application. So before council tonight is resolutions for each of those 3 applications in regards to what the committee's recommendation to council is. And I suppose I'd recommend to council that we handle those one by one and then just to discuss them one by one and vote on the resolution accordingly.
Okay, so we'll, which one do you want to go with the,
Just do the,
have the Stingers first?
yeah.
Okay, and then so we'll ask for mover and seconder, and then I'll open it up for further comments or questions.
That the grant committee recommends that the Springfield Stingers be awarded a $1,000 grant upon submission of their application.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Wilson moves. Counselor Glinsky seconds. Any discussion, further comments? Councillor Wilson,
If we don't support them now, they won't be filling the baseball diamonds later. Thank you.
thank you for that. And I believe this fee, so they will apply it towards their the rental fee of the baseball diamonds, but we left that at their discretion. So that should cover and provide them a good equivalent discount, I guess, to the rental fees. Okay, so if there are no further questions or comments, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that is carried. Okay, then we'll proceed with the museum resolution.
That the grant committee recommends that the $5,000 grant for the Elmer Malahide Museum remain unchanged.
And that.
And that the township continues conversations with the museum to further explore the nature of its support to the museum and ultimately to achieve an agreed upon alignment in governance and funding approach.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Cerna moves. Councillor Leach seconds. Questions, comments, discussions? Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would again like to request an additional bump to this amount as they do provide a storage of our history and programming to reach out to share that history, because if you don't know where you've been, you don't know how to get going.
So I will say that, so part of the resolution that, is designed to reflect the discussion from the grant committee. And Mr. Chair, jump in anytime if you'd like. But the idea is to continue the conversation. So we had one initial conversation, and I think further conversation would help determine what a bump could look like, or why, or if, and so the nature of the funding, and so that we can arrive at an alignment that reflects the support and the governance. And Councillor Lewis, as chair of the committee.
Through you, your worship. Yeah, we set out boundaries for the application, and we spent a lot of time on this one, more than any other one. It was the hardest one. And like she says, we're going to continue talks with them because there is room, but we need to know where there's other avenues that we've seen now that we're supporting, that we're putting two tails on a duck sort of thing. So, and that just needs to be brought to the table and made aware, and then we'll move from there. And I'm sure there's going to be success, and we'll move forward, and everybody can come to an agreement, and we can all walk away with a smile, I'm sure.
I do appreciate that it was reconsidered and a more fulsome conversation was had to understand more the goals and aims of the museum. I do appreciate that, and the museum board does as well.
Thank you for that. So that's the takeaway message, is the door is open for further conversation. So we do have a mover and seconder, so I'll ask for the vote. Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor Winner.
Yes, thank you. So if I'm hearing this right, you're going to reconsider them. Would that money be available for this year, or is that in next year's grant, whatever?
I would say we'll leave that open. There's still money available in the grant budget. So we will monitor how the conversations evolve and in what direction. So the door is open to, depending, like I said, how the conversations go. Could be this year, but it could also be for next year. But there's still going to be a little bit left in the grant budget.
Okay, because I guess part of the door is open is going to be the museum's part of the tour. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry, can you say that again?
As part of the doors open event that we're going to look at tonight, I guess we're going to give them some money. The museum will be part of that tour in Elmer.
I am not sure. I don't have the full list. The conversations with the, I think you're referring to the Heritage Festival, has listed to us the Malahide locations, but I don't know that we have a full list of the Aylmer locations. So I don't know for a fact that the Aylmer Malahide Museum is included in the tour. It may be, but I don't want to say one way or another.
Okay, would Councillor Leach know that?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay. If in fact it was, I would support giving the museum $1,000. I'd rather give them the money directly because they're going to handle it as best they can if it's going to be part of that event. And I see we're going to give others that we turn down. So I would consider giving them $1,000, and I put a motion on the table towards that if it fails. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion to grant the museum $1,000 as part of the grant. And so just before I open it up for discussion, I would need a seconder. So if you second the motion, doesn't mean that you support the motion. It just will allow for discussion. If there's no seconder, we cannot discuss. So Councillor Leach seconds. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Councillor Lewis.
So through you, your worship, to Mark, am I understanding this is you're going to want to give the museum $1,000 directly if they are on a stop for the grants for the Elmer Chamber event. So this wouldn't have anything to do with the grant that we're talking right now. So we're still going to give them 5,000. And you're
Correct.
saying that if one of the stops is at the Elmer Museum, you want to throw the Elmer Museum another $1,000 on top of the 1,000 that we're going to give the chambers, is what you're saying?
Yeah, but
Because that's for the chamber event. That has nothing to do with this mute.
Right. I'm not going to say I want it for the chamber event. I just think the $1,000, irregardless, we're giving them 5. If we're giving the other place $1,000, we should give this place. Try to make it more fair, but I would say $1,000, irregardless of what they're doing.
So then you're making it $6,000 if I'm understanding you then.
We're giving them 5, correct?
Yes.
So yes, another 1,000 would make it 6.
Okay.
So essentially, the motion on the table is to bump the grant donation to the museum to $6,000 by adding $1,000. Councillor Cerna.
thank you, Madam Mayor. But I was just going to say, if the Elmer Heritage Festival thinks that they're going to get an extra $1,000 by adding the museum to their open doors event, it's 7:35 now. I bet you by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, the museum will be part of the open doors event. So we got to be more specific and say, irregardless if their museums on the tour, it goes directly to the museum.
Right. So
It
right
has
now,
nothing to do with the
Right.
heritage event.
right. So right now, so thank you for that, Councillor Cerna. So right now, the motion on the table does not include or refer or to the Heritage Festival at all. So they are not tied whatsoever. So we will consider another motion after, completely separate, regarding support for the Heritage Festival. So for now, any further comments or questions on the motion to increase the funding to the museum by $1,000? Okay, there are no further questions. Can I have the vote, please? Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so then the next recommendation from the committee.
That the grant recommendation for the Elmer and Area Chamber of Commerce Heritage Festival be adjusted to $1,000 to support the promotion and advertising of a minimum of 4 participating Malahide locations.
Thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Lewis, Councillor Wilson, seconds, comments or questions? So again, just a little bit of background, the initial request that went to the committee was $10,000. The recommendation from the committee was to consider maybe $3,000 if there was going to be a good representation or inclusion of Malahide locations. The committee then learned that there would be at least 4. There could be more, but as of today, there are at least 4 locations in Malahide that will be included as part of the festival. And as a result, the committee is recommending that council approve $1,000 donation. Not donation, but grant. Any comments, Councillor Lewis?
Through your worship, just today at the Catfish Creek meeting, it was advertised that they have been requested from the chamber, and yeah, they've accepted the offer, so that would be another destination in Malahide that would be part of that festival for that weekend. So, was it?
Yeah.
I just brought it up today, so.
Councillor Cerna.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is the Humber Fire Hall that same week or weekend is having an open house. Is that not correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cerna. We typically have our open house around that week anyway, so we'll definitely have it open for that day.
Kind of funny that it's coincidental that one of the events for the festival is already open anyways. I just wanted to point that out.
And just to share additional comments from the discussion from the committee, like I said, this is $1,000 from the original 10 requests, and this is in recognition of, if you look at the spirit of the grant program is to support events, and particularly new events that are not well established yet and may not have all the funds they have to get started. So we do want to signal, the committee wishes for council to signal to the organizers that we are supportive and that we would like to see this first year to be a success. So we do have a mover and seconder. If there are no further questions or comments, for the vote, all those in favor? And that is those opposed? Okay, that is carried.
We do one final one to just approve the 5 total.
Okay. So we'll do a final resolution to so that we have the final total recorded as far as how much is being allocated this year as of today from the grant program. Go ahead.
Be it resolved that the community grants in the amount of $42,910 be approved and distributed as recommended by the Community Grants Committee.
Thank you for that. Mover and seconder?
Oh, sorry, that's not right.
Oh,
It's an extra
yes, thank you.
43,000.
Good catch. We adjusted that.
So yes, sorry about that. From the adjustment, it should be it resolved that the community grants in the amount of $43,910 be approved and distributed as recommended by the Community Grants Committee.
Okay, so mover and seconder. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so we move on to new business. First item is the application for consent to sever. Mr. Steele is back with us. So report DS 2501, please go ahead with the overview.
This application for council tonight is for a surplus farm dwelling severance. Staff have reviewed the application and finally meets all the criteria for surface farmland zones as set out under the provincial planning statement, county and Malahide official plans. Staff have no concerns with the application and are recommending the application be supported and the recommended conditions be forwarded to Land Division Committee for consideration. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to questions from members of council.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, the resolution, please.
The report number DS 2501 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E825 of Kevin and Katie Viss be received, and that the application for consent to sever of Kevin and Katie Viss relating to the property located at concession 7, part lot 21, lot 94, geographic concession north of Talbot Road and known municipally as 51147 Glencolin Line be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Glinsky seconds. All in favor? That is carried. There's another application for consent to sever, report 2504. Mr. Steele.
The subject lands consists of a agricultural parcel that is directly adjacent to the existing Shackleton auctions. The owners are currently Shackleton auctions. The use currently encroaches slightly onto the adjacent property. And so the owners are looking to facilitate a lot addition so that the business is all located on one property and one ownership. Council had previously approved a zoning bylaw amendment in late fall to support or to recognize the existing use. And so it's a continuation to finalize that process. Staff know yet that the proposed application would support additional farm-related commercial uses in the agriculture area. Staff have no concerns with the application and are recommending that council support the application subject to the recommended conditions being forwarded to Land Division Committee for its consideration. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to questions from members of council.
Thank you. Question, comments? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any problems with, where the parking lot and shop and stuff being severed off. On the west side of the property, I'm just curious as to what the elongated ziggy-zaggy on that side of the property is all about. It just looks a little odd. Maybe you could fill us in on that one.
Mr. Steele?
Through Madam Mayor, so I guess I have to return to page 42 of the agenda. So parcel C would be the existing Shackleton Auctions property, with parcel A being the land surrounding it. So that currently contains existing display area and parking. And then so the zigzag area may refer to sort of is trying to incorporate all of the land or all of the parking and storage area onto one property. And then the hash or the sort of dash line indicates just the area extent of the existing gravel area. I don't know if that clarifies in terms of for Councillor Wilson.
Yes, the east end of the property. I don't have any questions about that. I think that makes sense for what they're trying to do. The west end of the property, I'm just wondering why there's a huge elongated thing heading north and then back down south and then head north again. But it really doesn't have anything to do with the severance in question, so I guess it doesn't matter. I just curious as to how the property was ever shaped like that to begin with.
So the bottom left corner seemed to be irregular shape. Did you have any comments on that, Mr. Steele?
Through Madam Mayor, so the that irregular shape of the dash line just denotes the extent of what is gravelled and what is currently grass. The property boundary would be the solid black line, so it wouldn't be an irregular shape.
I won't ask the question a third way. Thank you.
Sorry, he was referring to the left side on the page in red, so not the dash. So it's not actually related to the severance itself.
I see.
It was just, it's a
Yes.
very irregular shape. And so I think there was just curiosity as to how that happens.
Yes,
So I
yeah,
don't know
that
if
was
you're
probably
aware.
a historical event. Yeah, I'm not certain exactly how that took place, but no, yes, on page 41, yes, that's of the farm parcel. I don't have any information on how that took place.
Yep, it's an interesting one. Okay, can I have the resolution, please? If there are no further questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead.
The report number DS 2504 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E1325 of Michael and Jennifer Shackleton be received, and that the application for consent to sever of Michael and Jennifer Shackleton relating to the property located at concession 10, part lot 4, geographic concession north of Talbot Road and known municipally as 51516 and 51570 Lions Line be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report and the recommended conditions be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Wilson, Counselor Cerna, second. All in favor? That is carried. And we have a third application for consent to sever, number E7-25. Mr. Steele.
So this is also another application for a surplus farm dwelling severance. Staff reviewed the application against the pool criteria for surplus farm dwelling severances and finds that it complies with the provincial policy statement, county and Malay official plans. It is noted that Schedule A2, which is the constraint schedule of the official plan, does denote 2 existing petroleum wells on the property. As part of the official plan, the Malay official plan does require that in cases of the existence of potential existing wells, that conditions be applied through the consent process, ensuring that those have been plugged in accordance with ministry requirements. And so staff will include that as a recommended condition to be applied to the proposed consent. And that concludes our presentation. I have any questions from members of council.
Thank you. Questions? Comments? Counselor Wilson?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I guess curious as to where they're located, but there's a lot of orphan wells out there. Not so much in this province, but there's definitely some severe issues farther west. But leaving those unattended is not good. So anyway, you don't want anything heading upwards and affecting the groundwater table. Thank you.
So that seems like a fair condition to be included. Any further comments or questions? Being none, may I have the resolution, please?
That report number DS 2502 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E725 of J&L Walker Farms Limited be received, and that the application for consent to sever of J&L Walker Farms Limited relating to the property located at concession 5, part lots 26 and 27, geographic concession south of Talbot Road, and known municipally as 7717 Anger Road be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report and the recommended conditions be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Glinski seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Counselor Lewis, can you, or Chief Spoor, you want to let Counselor Cerna know? Okay, and I think that concludes the reports with Mr. Steele. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for being with us. We'll proceed to the letter of support for the CHIF program.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council. Report PW 2504 is seeking a letter of support from this council. As you are aware, Malahide is the administrator of the Port Burwell area secondary water supply system. Our partners in this venture are Central Elgin and Bayham Township. We've recently done some condition analysis of that transmission water main, and have highlighted some of the vulnerabilities in it and have identified a significant 7-kilometer portion that is in need of relatively immediate replacement. This is currently earmarked for in and around 2028. That has been laid out in all of our other previously approved water budgets. We are on the cusp of issuing an RFP for engineering design as per the board's direction to get have a basically shovel-ready engineering design project for the entire transmission main. Because while we recognize that right now we're focusing on this 7-kilometer piece that is the furthest east, closest to Bayham, that ultimately the entire line is in excess of 50 years old and will require replacement. So while we're having the engineering done, that is our plan to have engineering completed for that entire portion. So this right now is a collaborative effort of our 3 partner municipalities. Staff from Malahide as the administrator sat down and had a meeting with staff from Central Elgin and staff from Bayham. We had our CAOs and our water managers and our financial guys and our grant man here, Stephen, to help. And one of the things that we wanted to do to bolster our grant application is get individualized letters of support from each of the participant municipal councils. So this is a long way of saying that we are requesting that council prepare and sign a letter of support that we can include with that CHIF application in hopes of gaining up to 40% funding for the potential $21 million project that we're looking at for that 7-kilometer piece of water main. Just for reference, Bayham has already presented to their council and received a letter of support. Central Elgin, I believe, is lined up for, I think, around February 10th-ish, early February. And from the board side of things, we will be looking to get an additional letter from the board, which represents all 3 of the municipalities as well, so that we can package this all up and hopefully help rattle some chains at the federal level to recognize that we do need some money to help address this situation. So with that, if there's any questions, I will happily answer.
Thank you for that. And did I read it could be up to 50% for smaller communities? Would we potentially qualify for the extra 10?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is a good question, which we've been hoping that we might be able to finagle ourselves into there. But when we're looking at the combined populations of our 3 municipalities now, I believe we're just crept over 30,000. So I believe there's some language in there that we can try to get underneath that threshold, but I'm not certain. Stephen looks like he has some commentary.
Yes, and through you, Madam Mayor, it does look like based on the eligibility and the criteria that because of the location of the asset, you would be using the population of where it's located. Although it is managed by 3 municipalities, I believe that in my communications with the administrator for the project that we would qualify for the 50% rather than the 40.
Don't get me wrong, we'll take 40. But at this size project, but at this size, 10% difference is a big difference. And my only other question is, can we send like 7 letters? Can we each send a letter in all caps? But yeah, and any wording, I'm sure you can finesse those words to express like how critical that piece of that asset is to our community. Any further question or comments? Councillor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, how close are we to sending out the application? Because I think time is of an essence since it's all across Canada. And if we drag our heels, if we're the 99th or 100th person to throw our hat in, we're liable to get zilch. And I wouldn't want to see that because that's a lot of money for the people of Bayham that use the water to be paying for the individual service. Thank you.
Stephen, any comments on just the deadline?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So we have until March 31st to apply. That's the last day. As of now, we are collaborating with the other municipalities. We have a skeleton application that's pretty fleshed out. Of course, we still need our letters of our letters of support and other things, supplementary information that we'd want to provide first.
And is it your experience that the actual date of submission would not be considered as part of the scoring or part of the consideration?
That's correct.
Okay.
All
so
the
that's long.
applications would come in and they would be evaluated simultaneously.
So as long as we're well ahead of the deadline, we'll be good. Okay. Thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Leach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank everybody for their collaboration and working together to improve the area and region as a whole.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've had a few calls on this, and just to clarify it, at the end of the day, after everything's granted and whatever they're going to do, is it the water users would be responsible for the payment of this? There's some fear out there the whole township tax base would be paying for it, and I don't think we do it that way, but could I get that clarified, please?
Director Boylan?
We do have a policy at the township that water system users pay for the system itself. There's nothing legislatively that would prevent us from using the tax base to fund such a project, but that's never been council's preference in the past. And I don't think that's a line that we would cross unless we absolutely had to under really dire circumstances.
Thank you for that. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, may I have the resolution, please?
The report number PW 2504 entitled CHIF Letter of Support be received, and that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Malahide supports Malahide's participation in a joint application to the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund for the rehabilitation of the Port Burwell Area Secondary Water Supply Systems Transmission Main on Nova Scotia Line, and further that the mayor be authorized to prepare and sign a letter of support from Malahide for the CHIF application.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Glinski moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Next is a report on the 2024 building permit activity. Our CBO is with us, Mr. Sutherland. Welcome.
Thank you and good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm presenting the 2024 building permit activity report. As you can see from the chart, there was a slight increase in total number of permits issued when compared to 2023. However, this number does remain lower than most when compared to the past years. The number of new home starts remain the same as 2023, totaling 14. This number marks the lowest number of new home starts over 10 years. Despite the overall lower total number of building permits issued, the construction value in 2024 remained consistent and comparable to the previous years, meaning that even though there were fewer permits, some of the permits issued were for large complex projects. With that said, 2024 was the first full year with the Township of Malahide providing building services to the municipality of Bayham as part of the shared service agreement. 2024 was the strongest building year in the municipality of Bayham with regards to permit fee revenue, construction value, and housing starts, and second strongest in total number of permits issued. In 2024, there was 155 total permits issued, with 53 of them being new homes in Bayham. Looking ahead, building permit activity within the township is expected to remain stable with similar values observed in 2024. Due to the limited available area for substantial growth in the township. Excluding the exceptional years of 2017, 2018, 2020, 2021, and 2022, building permit activity and construction values have generally remained consistent over the past 10 years. If anyone has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. My concern is just the is more, I guess, word on the street, the smoothness in which trying to get things making forward progress has taken. I think that with the adjustment with our assistant building inspector, I think that has helped improve things. But there's, well, with our well drilling company, we do a lot of work for a lot of building contractors. And the general word that I'm getting back is basically there's other places that are easier to build. So I'm hoping that we can, since we've had the adjustment with the moving on of a past assistant inspector, that we can continue to move things in a forward direction.
Thank you for that. And I think in the next report, there might be some, I think, well, everyone is aware that we first off acknowledge some of the issues encountered during the year and have put a few things in place, and more will continue just to provide, well, first establish the standards and then communicate that. And so that we, if that's the word on the street, I think it is on us to change that word and we demonstrate it. But I think everybody is heading in that direction, even just with the efforts that were put in place in the last few months. Anything else? Any further comments? Yes, and I'm sure sometimes the numbers probably don't reflect the complexity or the nature of some of the builds, and so, but we know that it's a tough job, and certainly appreciate the work being done and the efforts to customer service in that area and all the improvements that we've seen already. So I really, really want to make sure staff know our appreciation that we're heading in the right direction. Councillor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, since we now have a developmental person on staff, it is my hope that a lot of these issues will go away and that he will be able to direct the people in the direction that they need to go to expedite whatever they're trying to build. And I just look at this whole thing as being a positive situation now compared to what it was. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, may I have the resolution, please?
The report number DS 2506 entitled 2024 Building Permit Activity be received.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Glinski seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Sutherland. Nice to see you. Next, we move to the Community Relations Economic Development Update of 2024. To the podium, Mr. Tripp.
That's right. Okay, everybody, if you could turn to my report in your package. So good evening, councilors, mayor, staff. It's time for your community relations and economic development update. So I will say in 2024, council took a bold and innovative step in creating this position. And I will say that 2024 was a very busy year for the Community Relations and Economic Development Department. So what does community relations and economic development mean? Beyond overseeing the planning department, I also manage the community relations and economic development initiatives, which is another way of saying that I dip my toes into a little bit of everything. As you can see from the report, the CRED manager led or contributed to about a third of the strategic actions completed in 2024, and has again been tasked with about 1/3 of the 2025 strategic actions to be taken place. So community economic development. It has really shifted what economic development means over the years. When we talk about community economic development from a local stance, we understand now that there is empirical data that shows that 76% of new jobs that are created come from our local job market. And it's something that we can apply to see a better return on investment rather than pouring money and financial incentives to attract bigger industry. So the key aspects of community economic development include focusing on local resources, assets, and skills rather than just outside investment. We need to nurture our local businesses through methods like business retention and expansion efforts, emphasizing community capacity building and long-term sustainable economic growth. So what does that look like? And how does it relate to the strategic priorities of the township? And that's what brings me to my report. And it's quite lengthy, so I will only highlight the key points. So how did we unlock responsible growth in 2024? We continued to leverage our county partners through their programming and connected our businesses and developed agreements on our behalf to take advantage of financial programming. The township is taking advantage of funding opportunities, as you've heard before. Last year, we applied for 4 applications, and we just got word yesterday that we're going to get another, that we've been approved for another application, totaling just under $70,000 for the year. We are currently assisting the operations of 15 expansions in our commercial, industrial, and institutional organizations and businesses in the community. And this expected assessment is to be seen and reflected in 2026. And this also includes vetting 2 subdivision approvals that will have the capacity for industrial and commercial applications. We also saw that from 2023 to 2024, that we more than doubled our pre-consultations from the planning side of things. We know that an informed client typically gets over those developmental hurdles that we were speaking about before more efficiently. And in any economic development model and as a public servant, community engagement is always at the crux of what we do. And as the one point of contact for the planning and building department for our businesses, we continue to enhance the quality of engagement between our stakeholders in our township. Looking at our report, we can observe the CRED manager is out and about, meeting business owners, conducting surveys, promoting our locale online, and organizing in a way that mutually benefits the township and our constituents, including currently being in the process of drafting 2 memorandum of understandings for some of our community organizations. Now, if you're a data nerd like me, this next portion should get you very excited. We have been busy at work collecting and refining not only our historical data, but how we track our metrics. This all comes together for establishing, documenting, and enhancing our service levels. And it does enhance our service levels in many ways. We've created a stakeholder and information register that unlocks the critical details of our township and our stakeholders. This data will drive how we can strategically access and unlock different opportunities. We're internally measuring our expansions and throughout the township, reevaluating how it impacts our overall tax base. This kind of information is vital. And looking at our last strategic priority, in 2024, we continued to maximize our assets, whether it was through networking, connecting businesses to opportunities, or applying to grants to upgrade our facilities, the details which I have outlined in our report. So one thing I would like to point out is that these things do not happen in vacuums or silos. Rather, they're initiatives that require a high level of engagement and collaboration. All of these activities require a high level of communication. There is so much to look forward to in 2025, and those new items are listed in the report as well. So I would just say thank you for putting your trust in me. It's a big honor, and let's continue to work together. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you for this update. We've all been wondering what you were up to. No, we've seen you at work, and you have been very helpful, and again, maintaining and sometimes patching the relationships with businesses and residents and community groups. So we really appreciate that. The relationships is where it all starts, right? So thank you for all your work. I'll open it up for questions, comments. Councillor Wilson.
There we go. Through you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the addition of this department, because as counselors, we're not allowed to question or direct staff directly. And when people call me with concerns about various issues that they're having, whether it's bylaw enforcement or building department or whatever it may be, if people aren't getting answers for the questions that they have, I have directed a lot of people your way. So I appreciate that you're able to look after some of those concerns and keep me out of the hot seat. So it's fantastic that we have someone to sort of go through the ins and outs of which I'm not privy to. So it's I'm hoping that I like to see the more development that we have with industrial or commercial applicants in our township, the better. The bigger the tax base is, once we have BDR here fully up and running, it's 80 plus jobs in the township, and we'll be able to start collecting taxes on that building. So the more things like that we have moving forward, it makes our tax base more viable for the things that we need to do, and it doesn't spread that on to residential and other taxpayers, because we have more people here doing more business, helping things along with our budgeting. So it's great to have the department in existence now, and appreciate the forward momentum that we've gained because of it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lewis.
Through you, Your Worship, just to want to say sort of, a very, very small percentage of people that I've sent the same, that's what we were directed to do. And I know of two that I can, small percentage, but there are two that I can think of right off the top of my head that called back and thanked me immensely because they didn't know what they were getting into and they ran into a problem. The one did. And I said, just contact him. He'll tell you what you got to do. And she contacted me back and said, that was the slickest thing for me, not knowing nothing, new to the area, trying to get her zoning thing done. And she was more than tickled pink. So there is definitely a use for your job, because before that would have been just turned into a whirlwind before. Like we had no place to say, here, they'll tell you from start to scratch where you got to go. And now that there's a platform for that. So keep it up.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And I think that was part of what we heard, that it is from a residence or a business point of view. Every file is complicated because it involves several departments. So that would involve several phone calls. And I think people have appreciated having one point of contact and being able to liaise with one person who can then seek the information from different departments, because it all rolls up. So I think that is an improvement in the right direction, and we have received a lot of positive feedback that, as you said, the momentum is forward. So thank you for that.
Sure, if it works. Am I allowed to speak for a second? All good. Look at my CEO. We could, so technically, just for those who are watching, right, there is a request in the chambers from an attendee to speak. So technically that is not part of protocol. I could make an exception as an addendum to the report as, as a testimonial. But if you would like, I will invite you to say a few words. I don't mind.
As a community member.
You would have to go to the podium though, so that everyone can hear you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. I do want to speak on behalf of the community as a community member and business owner. I can concur with Stephen that his role is very valuable, and I've enjoyed working with him through that. So I think it's been a year or so that you've been there, and it does help the community, and we're still working through some things, but it is a very, very valuable position.
And thank you for that. So instead of the written testimonials in the report, we have a live testimonial so that we will add in the record. So I appreciate that. Any further comments? Councillor Leach?
Thank you, Madam
And
Mayor.
then Deputy Mayor.
Turn that one off. Thank you. I just want to comment that your position has made it possible for every other area to do their job better because now they aren't drawn in multiple directions. So it's all round valuable.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll just echo the comments we've had. You're a great liaison person that really helps smooth out the bumps. And he always says he's on it and gets back to me. Kind of like the old Batman show. I make a call and I see him fly down the pole and he gets it fixed and gets back to me and makes everyone's life easier. So thank you again, Stephen.
And thank you for sharing those remarks as well. Okay, so if there are no further comments, keep up the good work and we'll move with a resolution, please.
The report number DS 2503 entitled CRED Update 2024 be received for information, and that this report and the information contained therein inform the mayor and members of council of the economic development initiatives completed over the year for the township.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Serna moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, next, we added to the agenda an update from Port Bruce. Can I ask Director Spoor, it's that time of year where people get a little bit concerned about ice and potential rain. And so if you could give us an update on what is happening in Port Bruce and any ice breaking activity or what the strategy is, please.
Your worship, this week we've, of course, we would monitor the weather with Catfish Creek, and Catfish Creek advised me on Monday morning around 6:30 that they would advise that Tuesday morning, that we should start maybe make preparations for breaking some ice in the channel at the pier. So we got out there on Monday morning and just did a little bit of breaking to see how the ice was. There's very little flow in the creek right now coming out, so it's not moving the ice head at all. The creek measurements from Catfish Creek, there's some thick ice all the way through. Like at the bridge, it's around 7+ inches right now, which is fairly thick. We again did over the last 2 days, I broke some more ice, brought some ice out of the channel, and moved some rocks, the barriers and stuff there today out into the parking lot, so the drag line could actually get a little bit farther reach. Catfish Creek advised that we try to open up as far as we can around the outside of towards the south of the break wall and try to open that up so it gives another avenue for the water to go. Right in the Rockborough Bay there's a big sand silt buildup. So the water's fairly shallow there. So that's a point that we want to try to make sure we keep it clear there so when the ice does come through. Fortunately, when we've been monitoring the weather, it doesn't look like we're going to get a lot of rain. A little bit of snow will absorb that. We don't see any water buildup coming down right now at all, so it's not moving. So hopefully it'll be a nice, slow, gradual warm up that slowly melts things out and the ice can deteriorate naturally on its own. Unfortunately, that cold snap we had a week or two ago there, where we had our polar vortex there, it froze basically the whole Lake Erie over. So there's a lot of ice out there. Hopefully it'll weaken its way up too. So ideally when the ice comes there, it has a place to go. barring it gets stuck in the channel. If it can make it to the lake, that's great, but we're still working on it, and we'll keep working as best we can to keep that channel clear under the recommendation from Catfish Creek. So
Thank you for that update. It's always concerning. Every year, the conditions are very unique, very different. So, and we do rely on the advice and expertise of our colleagues at Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. We thank them for that. And yes, the best we can hope for is just a gradual, small quantity of rain. Any questions or comments? Councillor Wilson?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I guess it's unfortunate that we can't do more to clear out the channel, but from my understanding, it's above, it's out of our hands and federal. So it's, that's on the challenging side, but I guess, is there any more that we can do, or is that literally out of our hands?
Councillor Lewis?
Through you, your worship, just, something that needs to be put on the table. I sit on the board with Catfish Creek, and I saw the application go out for sediment removal. Now, this was just last year because they inquired about this. And it came back from Oceans and Fisheries that to remove the sediment in Port Bruce Creek, you have to go out into the lake, find sediment of the same compound, and that's the only place in Ontario that you can put the sediment out of that creek is out into the lake. You can't put it into a truck. You can't trip it up the hill and put it in a ditch. You can't. The only way is to put it out in the lake. I had a good conversation with John Blankenship today from Port Bruce, and we spoke for probably half an hour to 45 minutes. And we got onto this topic, and I said, everybody has done the most that I could ever imagine them doing. To sit back now on the other side of the table, everybody cares, and nobody has got the solution. It's one of the most frustrating things you can ever imagine, and I've heard it all. Like, everybody has the solution. Trust me, they all do. And I've heard every one of them. And it's unfortunate, preparation. That's the key. Preparation. You know it's coming. You need to prepare for it. It's unfortunate. And true, it is true that 362 days of the year, that's a beautiful place to live. Well, the other two, nobody that I'm aware of in the world can fix the other 2 days for them. And that sucks. Everybody wants to help. There's no help. There's preventative, and everyone's done their measures. So, that needs to be a fact that's given out there, because I hear everyone say, well, just dredge it, just dredge it, just dredge it. The dredging now today is push the sediment out back into the lake so it can get pushed back in next year. I've seen it now a few years that I've sat on the board over there, and if to look at the maps, it's all public information. That sediment, you can move it out. It's coming right back in. It isn't coming from up the stream like everyone thinks it's coming from up there. It's not. It's coming in. The slow water brings it in, and it meets the creek, and there it sits. Boom, Rockabore Bay. It is so frustrating. But yeah, so that was the report. Catfish did reach out to Oceans and Fishery to see about getting it dredged, and that was the reply that came back. So everybody's on the same mission. It's just hard to get to the destination.
Thank you for that additional information. Councillor Wilson?
I sort of knew that Scott would have the answer, but I just wanted to let others out there know the constraints that we are under. And as a township, we can't just go and do whatever we feel like. It's there's other departments and on provincial and federal levels that if we went ahead and did it, we would be in a lot more trouble than what is already happening.
So thank you for those remarks. It's a good reminder. I think we can reassure everybody that everybody cares, whether it's at the Conservation Authority and the township and council and staff. Everybody does care. Everybody's trying and always open to discussions, but there are constraints. It's complex, but we keep talking. We keep the conversations going, and that's
the way to do it. But the care is there, the technical advice is there, the equipment is there, so everything is being monitored and everybody's doing their best. So thank you for that. Don't need a resolution for that. So the last item in new business I wanted to bring up is a request that I received from the Elgin OPP detachment. And it would be for Malahide to be the host of the Citizen Police Academy. And I'll just read you what they've sent me. The Elgin Citizen Police Academy is proposed would commence on March 19th. It runs for 9 weeks, so it's one session per week for a couple hours. So 2-hour information sessions held one night per week for a period of 9 weeks, each focusing on different aspects of law enforcement, such as community policing, crime prevention techniques, emergency response procedures. These sessions are conducted by the members of the OPP and community partners, professionals who will share their expertise, engaging participants in interactive discussions and practical demonstrations. And they're saying by hosting this educational program, we can empower our community members to become proactive partners in maintaining public safety. And it's a great way for people to dispel like any myths or, disinformation about police practices. Residents will gain knowledge about the workings of the OPP and the steps they can take also as citizens to prevent crime. So so the township's been asked if we could host this. So the OPP provides obviously all the materials and the instructors. Our task would be to make space available. So for at Malahide Community Place, and the cost, the value of that is about $1,000. So I'm looking, so far we've reached out to, I would like it to be supported by different members of the community. And so far the Malahide Community Policing Association has committed $250 towards the program. The McFarland and Rollins Insurance has also committed $250. And BAM Council will be asked to consider a sponsorship of $250. And so I'm asking if Malahide Council would consider a sponsorship of $250 as well. So that would bring us the $1,000 and would make this program available. It is free for participants. And that is the request. Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure if it was last weekend or the weekend before, there were a number of break-ins in Springfield, even into cars. I think it would be great to support this. We have cameras up at our shop. We had someone drive through the front yard, drive between mom and dad's place and the new shop, and around behind the shop, casing the joint, got out, checked doors on some vehicles, then pulled between the new shop and the old shop, did a Yui and anyway, and then didn't drive out through the driveway, drove out across the front yard again. So I guess cameras is definitely one thing that people can do. Wish we had some higher resolution to actually zoom in on the license plates, although those are quite often stolen anyway. But anything we can do to support this would be great. And if it's $250 for our contribution, that's pretty cheap insurance compared to what the thieves are getting from our local residents. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I should also mention, so this program is not new. So last year was run in Dunwich, so for the west part of the county. And even if you Google it, you will see it's been run in Oxford and by other detachment boards. And it's very, very popular and appreciated by community members. Councillor Cerna.
Yeah, we just went through some grants tonight and the grant committee meetings and things like that. And we've given away money for lesser things than whatever. $250 is, to me, cheap insurance, and I'm fully supportive. No problems.
Thank you for that. And I want to clarify also that this does not go through the grant committee because it doesn't align with the program itself. The OPP it's not a community based organizations, and so it didn't quite fit the criteria. And this is more, it's a sponsorship really for a one-time fee. So I just also wanted to clarify that. So to host and sponsor the program to the tune of $250. Apparently they provide that too. They probably have their own sponsor for that. Okay. So let's read the resolution and see.
The council approved the request from the Elgin OPP detachment to host the Elgin Citizen Police Academy event, and that Malahide Council support a $250 sponsorship to the Elgin Citizen Police Academy event.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Glinski seconds. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And this brings us to bylaws, and then we'll take a break. So hang in. Resolutions for the bylaws?
That the following bylaws be now read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. 2509, 2025 budget bylaw. Bylaw 2510, 2025 user fee bylaw. Bylaw 2508, the Barrettson rezoning bylaw. And that the following bylaws be now read a first and second time. 2506, the Diversnick drain, and 2507, Ashton Street drain.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So do you wish for a brief recess now? Okay, so let's take a 5-minute recess and then we'll resume into committee of the whole. Thank you. Come back, everyone. Next on the agenda is committee of the whole. Can I have the resolution, please?
Resolved that we do now move into committee of the whole.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So this evening, the committee only has one item other than correspondence, and that's from you, Clerk Adams, the Information Technology Services Contract Extension, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So Zuling Technologies is our current provider. This agreement is now coming up for the possible extension. And Zuling Technologies has consistently shown exceptional expertise in IT service management, supporting municipalities with critical services like cloud commuting, cybersecurity, and network management. They are committed to a quick response time, ensuring timely issue resolution and minimizing disruptions to our operations. Their proactive approach to maintenance keeps our IT environment stable and efficient. Zuling's level of care and dedication makes them feel like an integral part of our team, even though they are a contracted service. Based on their proven track record with Malahide and other Elgin lower tier municipalities, extending the contract for 2 years is the recommendation of staff. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none. Resolution.
The report number clerk 2501 entitled Information Technology Services Contract Extension be received, and that the committee of the whole recommend to council that staff be authorized to take the necessary actions to finalize and formalize the 2-year contract extension with Zuling Technologies.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Next, we have correspondence. There are 6 items. I'll draw your attention. There is an opportunity for the public to get involved with the North Shore Resilience Project. They're recruiting for a public advisory committee member. So if you're a resident of Malahide, you can get involved. And I believe this particular applies to landowners along the shores interested in this project. Any other comments or endorsements? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to talk about the ministry of the Solicitor General and welcome and induction of the newly appointed Minister of Auto Theft and Bail Reform. It's well overdue. One of the problems I have with the auto theft was a lot of people track their vehicles, they put trackers in them. Well, they end up on a train. The railway police cannot and will not open it up to get your stolen vehicle out to get shipped off to another country. That to me is dead wrong. So hopefully they can change that. And the bail reform, we've all heard stories where somebody's out on bail and they commit several crimes after. So there's an election coming. I don't know if this stuff will even hold true, but let's just hope it does. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none, the resolution.
Be it resolved that all correspondence items be received and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Widner moves, Councillor Leach seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And resolution to adjourn the meeting of the Committee of the Whole.
Resolved that we do now move out of Committee of the Whole and reconvene the regular council meeting.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Wilson seconds, all in favor? That is carried. This brings us to closed session. Resolution to move into closed session.
That council move into closed session at 8:49 PM pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act as amended to discuss the following: training and education for the purpose of professional development relating to Development Services Department, bylaw enforcement, Section 239(3.11).
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Glinski seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, welcome back. May I have the resolution to come out of closed session, please?
The council move out of closed session and reconvene at 9:56 PM in order to continue with its deliberations, and that council provided direction to staff, and there's nothing further to report.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Cerna seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Next is confirmatory bylaw.
That bylaw number 2511, being a confirmatory bylaw, be given first, second, and third reading and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Wilson moves, Councillor Lewis seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And that brings us to adjournment.
The council adjourned its meeting at 9:56 PM to meet again on February 20th, 2025 at 7 PM.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Widner moves. Councillor Cerna seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everyone. Hope you feel better, Mark. Take care.